You're listening to the Listen Up Show, Startup Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm Mitchell Chadro, your host. Today on show 008. Today, this show is brought to you by Harvey Mackay, the subject of today's podcast. Listen up, trusted friends. It's your business, it's your family, it's your life. Now let's get started. Please sign up to my email list for the latest special offers exclusive for our Listen Up Show Startup Entrepreneur Podcast audience at MitchellChadro.com/sign up. I have been providing business advice, resources, and help to entrepreneurs for over 20 years, and I'm looking forward to helping all of you. Sign up for my email list, again, at MitchellChadro.com/sign up. I will provide you with full transcript for each interview, my ebook, 30 Tools to Start Up, the Startup Checklist, and many other education and training materials, all back at MitchellChadro.com/sign up. Now enjoy the show. When I look at my collection of books over these last 25 years, one author, one key business leader and entrepreneur shows up in my top 3 over and over again. That's Harvey Mackay. I really wanted to interview Harvey for this show, and in the process of developing his online university, Harvey Mackay University, which is really, really exciting. We're actually going to interview Harvey at the end of July, and I will link this show number 8 to that interview. My philosophy in life and in business is the show must go on. So I'm going to do the show today without Harvey Mackay, but looking forward to speaking with him towards the end of July. His quote, "You don't have to know everything as long as you know people who know the things that you don't." See, that's true wisdom. You want to take advantage of the resources that are always provided to you, whether it's in this show or the words of wisdom of Harvey. In show number 6, I created those free apps to help you with starting your business so that it can make things easier for you, and it was all for free. So again, take advantage of those awesome free tools. Also, let's not forget what Susan Matthews told us in show number 5, whose advice, everyone, was what her uncle had taught her, and that is show up. So here I am talking about one of the authors that has influenced me, and, well, he's the most influential in business and in life. Our startup round. For all your hosting needs, head on over to MitchellChadro.com/hosting. MitchellChadro.com/hosting for all your web hosting needs. Who do you use to host this website? Harvey's business, MackayMitchell, manufactures and sells envelopes. John Huntsman, a billionaire, made his money selling styrofoam to McDonald's. So just think about it this way. Whether it's an envelope corporation or making styrofoam, you can find a product that you can sell by starting today. MackayMitchell Envelope Corporation actually produces over 4 billion envelopes per year. And if you actually do the math, that's 25 million envelopes per day using 3 different modern plants. That's absolutely mind-boggling. So when deciding what to do, what to sell, you can really think about selling or doing just about anything, whether it's styrofoam, containers, or envelopes. For example, being a fiduciary professional, everyone wants to do investment management, but not many people love to do the administration. That's where the opportunity lies, in those things that other people don't want to do, either because it's not glamorous, it's not tedious, or it's not something that, is on the mainstream. But there's where the opportunity lies, and that's why I also created a website called TrustSmarter.com. For Harvey, it's not acquiring the customer or the account, but maintaining the account or the quality assurance that makes the difference. In his company's 45-year history, they actually never lost an account, and the reason being is that they focus on quality and service. So for me, in looking at the books that he's written, his titles, and really the titles of all books, are really everything. I mean, he has really some of the best titles among a select elite group of authors. We often ask our guests about failures. So back in January of 2015, Harvey actually wrote an article titled, "Failure Can Be One More Step on the Road to Success." See, stories are so important, so when Harvey wrote that article in 2015, he actually told a story about a 38-year-old man who was working for his father, who was a leather merchant, and he kept books, drove wagons, handled hides, all for only $66 a month. Now, of course, that was back in 1860. Before these menial jobs, this man had actually failed as a soldier, as a farmer, as a real estate agent, and most of the people who knew him had actually written him off as a dud. But just some 8 years later, by 1868, this man was elected President of the United States, and that man was Ulysses S. Grant. And today, we actually see him on the $50 bill. Now let's turn to Harvey's success. He says, "Most of us are afraid of failing. We all face fears and anxiety every day, and the only way to overcome them and succeed is to actually recognize them and confront them directly." For me, that's perfect. My definition is courage is facing the fear, but doing it anyway, moving through the fear. Mackay's moral, some of the best lessons we ever learned, we learned from our mistakes and failures, which is really what we're trying to teach when we actually interview our guests and ask them those questions. And other successes, Harvey has actually sold over 10 million books. The titles alone make you want to read or listen up to his books. The first book he wrote was called Swim with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive. It was groundbreaking. It was actually a New York Times #1 bestseller for 54 weeks. The reason the book is subtitled Outsell, Outmanage, Outmotivate, and Outnegotiate Your Competition is because that's actually how the book is actually divided up. So you learn about your customers' education, their family, their hobbies, their interests, their favorite sports teams, their favorite habits, their previous employment, their profession and trade associations, their clubs, and so on. What makes them tick? I mean, really, why do they think the way that they do? And he has done this in his own business, and if he were being interviewed right now, he would actually tell each and every one of you out there that that's what you need to do in your own businesses that you're either thinking about starting or have started to begin the business and you're trying to obtain customers. You know, Dickie Fox says it best in Jerry Maguire at the end of the movie. He says, it's all about personal relationships. Well, if you build a good relationship, you will not only create raving fans that come back, but they'll come back over again and again and again. So some of the lessons included in this book, it's not how much it's worth, it's how much people think it's worth. And he also says in this book, the sale begins when the customer says yes. And writing personal notes give you better results. And for me, without a GPS, I couldn't get there, but you still need a destination. As far as negotiations go, sometimes saying no is actually the best option. And he also says in the book, everything is negotiable. And agreements prevent disagreements. So if you're thinking about going into partnership with somebody or bringing somebody in to help you do something, remember that one key thing that he says, agreements prevent disagreements. You must also deal with honest people. And he says that no contract term can ensure that unless you choose wisely. So in any partnership or any business relationship, the people that you're dealing with and that you surround yourself with have to really be above board with excellent character and honesty. And he also says that decisions that are made with your heart cause heart disease. He says, and this is pretty funny, it makes it so easy to remember. He says, if you burn bridges, you better be a damn good swimmer. His book Sharks was actually updated in 2005, and he says that I challenged myself to see how much of my own advice I was still willing to follow. And then he says, I can honestly report that the formula that he used when he wrote the initial book continues to keep him safe in shark-infested waters. Harvey's second book was Beware of the Naked Man Who Offers You His Shirt. And Harvey sold the worldwide rights to that book. And at the time, it was the biggest contract in the history of business book publishing. From the time that the book was published, it merely took only 2 weeks for it to hit the New York Times #1 bestseller list. Business and delivering more than what you promise is his motto. And he says that if someone does make an offer they probably can't keep or seems a little far-fetched, then beware. And that's the main theme of the book. Number 3, and this is probably my favorite title of all his books, it's called Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty, and then the only networking book you'll ever need. And it's really true. If you're looking to build those personal relationships that I had mentioned before and trying to acquire clients, customers, dealing with your suppliers, your vendors, this is really a wonderful primer for you to start with. This book only took 12 days to make it to the New York Times bestseller list, and it actually stayed there for 5 months. So I think that says a lot for that book and my recommendation to all of you to go out and actually read it, or actually you can listen to it as well. Build those good relationships with a lot of people. The more good relationships you have, the easier it will be to achieve the things that you want to achieve. He also says that the best way to start is to provide positive value for others, and I think that that's critical. He also suggests to maintain that relationship when things are up or when things are down. Our fast pitch, MitchellChadro.com/books for books, audio books, guest recommendations, and the books that I read to start up each day. Sponsors our fast pitch, my book club recommendations, back at MitchellChadro.com/books. To see more of my recommendations and recommendations of our guests, just go to MitchellChadro.com/books. It's your #1 resource for book reviews and recommendations. When the chips are down, he says, people remember who was there for them during those tough times. I know in my own personal life, I certainly remember those people as well. And then, it sounds so simple, but interact with people. We come across people all the time. We really can't be introverts. We got to really kind of put ourselves out there and introduce yourself and get to know people. In Harvey's 4th book, in Pushing the Envelope All the Way to the Top, Harvey shares his wit and his savvy and just his common and not so common sense with everyone who wants to succeed at anything. In book 5, Inside We Got Fired, it's all the best thing that ever happened to us. And Harvey interviews a wide variety of people, leaders from Robert Redford to Larry King to Michael Bloomberg to Joe Torre to even Donald Trump and Billie Jean King and Muhammad Ali, Leslie Weiser, Bill Belichick, Bernie Marcus, Pat Mitchell, Jesse Ventura, and Lou Holtz, just to name a few. So it's really a great book of people that at one point or another in their life somehow either got fired or were down and had to sort of get themselves back up. In book number 6, Use Your Head to Get Your Foot in the Door, Harvey takes a pragmatic yet a humorous tone by showing us that getting a job in and of itself is a job. And I mean, that is so true. If you've ever been between positions and you're trying to sort of get something, getting a job is a full-time job. So it also teaches us how to beat rejection before it beats you, and the book is really good for showing us warning signals that you might be losing your position, which is also another good reason to also be thinking about starting your own business or doing something with passive income on the side, even if you decide to sort of work for someone else. Knowing where to start your next job search, which is really critical. Go to LinkedIn as well. I think that's also a good idea. And how to beat rejection before it beats you, because staying positive, and keeping motivated, I think, during those times are going to be important as well, whether it's finding another job or it's starting a new business. And, how to ace those interviews, how to negotiate the job that you want and not the job offer. And then he also suggests taking advantage of the way bosses make hiring decisions by blending tools with old-fashioned face-to-face networking. He also provides a primer, a major resources through A through Z, career-tested, easy-to-apply methods, state-of-the-art researching skills and networking strategies. Actually, if you go right onto his website, HarveyMackay.com, and if you subscribe actually to his email list, he'll actually give you that A to Z career book for free, which I think is really kind of cool and says a lot about him. On success, he has said that trying times are no time to quit trying. And he also says that the line between failure and success is so fine that we scarcely know when we pass it. So fine that we are often on the line and do not know it. How many people have thrown up their hands at a time when a little more effort, a little more patience would have achieved success? And I read that statement over and over again, and I come to the conclusion that persistence and being patient and being tenacious have always been the cornerstones of what I do. But after reading that again and again, it's also, I've read all his books as well. So I'm sure that's also, been a big help to me through my life. He says that in business, prospects may seem darkest when really they are about to turn. A little more perseverance, a little more effort, and what seemed hopeless failure may turn into a glorious success. There's no failure except in no longer trying. And I think that is absolutely brilliant advice. Book number 7, it's called the Mackay MBA of Selling in the Real World. And again, this is more about selling. And one of the funny quotes that he has there, he says that big shots are just little shots who kept shooting. So anyway, I thought that was kind of cute. Our wrap-up round, MitchellChadrow.com/photos for all your graphic design needs. And his last few books, again, are about getting a job. Getting a job is a job. Actually, that's the title of the book. And then the last book here that we'll mention is called Shark Proof. Get the job you want, keep the job you love in today's frenzy job market. And although he wrote that last book all the way back in 1994, I mean, I remember how crazy things were in 2008 and 2007 when people were trying to find positions and jobs, and even maybe today they are as well. So anyway, all his books I think are relevant today. How to Live Well is maybe a motto of his. Harvey is a family man. He's married to his wife, Carol Ann, for 45 years. He's a father. He's a grandfather. And if I were actually creating a board of advisors, he would absolutely be on the top of my list. If he were here now, I'd ask him for 3 words to sum it all up, and I think what he would say is prepare to win. So at the end of this July, that's what we're actually going to do as we plan to interview him. And in conclusion, the Harvey Mackay's morals is people's lives change in 2 ways: the people we meet and the books that we read. But I would actually take that one step further. It's also the books that we listen to. I look forward to seeing you and listening on our next episode. In closing, let me ask for my listeners' help. First, please subscribe to my email list at MitchellChadrow.com/signup. You will get all the full interview transcripts, my ebook, 30 Tools to Start Up, where I talk about these free resources in show 006. You'll get the startup checklist, education and training materials, and other resources just by signing up at MitchellChadrow.com/signup. Listen up, trusted friends. It's your business, it's your family, it's your life. Go out and live it. Back at MitchellChadro.com/sign-up, help me boost the rankings of the Listen Up Show, the Startup Entrepreneur Podcast, by providing a well-written review in iTunes. MitchellChadro.com/iTunes. It helps other people find the show. If you actually need instructions on how to do this, you can find that back at MitchellChadro.com/sign-up. Thank you so much for subscribing to my email list and providing a written review on iTunes. Until next time.